3.5 years earlier, I was invited to visit the pit where the World Trade Center buildings had stood before September 11th. We were some of the first civilians to go down there after the cleanup was over. It was early in July 2002. My son Forrest had died in February that year. My story had reached the ears of a widow who was producing a concert at the Beacon Theater in New York as a way of thanking some 2,500 first responders who had tried to find her husband and so many others, loved ones, in the rubble. Phoebe Snow, Beth Nielsen Chapman, Dolores Holmes, and I were asked to headline the concert and to visit the pit in advance so we'd have some sense of the emotions the respondents had lived with for over 10 months. Escort vehicles met us at the upper gates at 5 p.m. on that Tuesday night. The sun was bright and beginning to set. There were about 20 of us there. We got in the cars and slowly descended into the empty, dusty, gray-white earth. The trip down was brief. It was holy. So many lives had been lost there. The Port Authority policeman who took us down suggested that we roam for a little while to get a feel for the place. We all took off by ourselves. It was a time for solitude and reflection. The tunnels where the subway had once been were obvious to the eye. Stairwells leading down to them were empty, but still there. It was quiet in a way that was unforgettable and powerful. The city loomed above us, but we couldn't hear it. When we gathered after an hour or so, the producer of the film that was being created around the concert asked me if I would sing Grace for our little group. Beth, Dolores, and her aunts who sing background vocals with her hummed a sustained note. I took a deep breath and sang with whatever courage I could find. I thought about Forrest and smiled. I thought about the day the towers fell and how much had happened in between then and that moment. Standing there in this sacred graveyard singing, I felt like my heart would break with sadness or overflow with joy. How could it be that this had happened? How could it be that I was lucky enough to experience this incredible place in human history? And then how could it be that my little song would be of comfort to men and women who had worked hour after hour for months on end to bring completion to an impossibly difficult story? When the concert took place the following week at the Beacon Theater, the lights went down and the show began with a short film that introduced some of the rescue personnel. The first frames of that film are of me and others singing Grace down there in the pit. The thing I remember and that I saw again in that film is that the men I met that night, and I think they were all men, listened and cried silently while I sang. These were men that had not cried before 9/11. I call that grace. So, I guess I need to sing Grace for you. So, what I was thinking is, one of the dilemmas when I knew I would be emotional today, and I knew I would be scared. I don't know why, but I just knew I would be. Is that when I sing Grace, I have kind of a choice to make, and this is a choice that a writer has also, is what is my perspective going to be, and what is your perspective going to be in relation to me. So, for instance, if I just sit here and sing it, it's a really different experience if I join you. So I'm going to join you. Give